Hi, folks. Welcome to the last session of the year 2024. And we have just the two amazing speakers from the community as well. So we have AI as well as OpenAI. So say hi to Kevin.
Hey folks, yeah, as Nick said, two more brilliant speakers to bring to the stream to everyone, and with a big focus, particularly with Microsoft Ignite last month, all around AI. We've got two really good Azure AI focus sessions today. So let's get kicked off, Nick, and let's do the intro, guys.
Yeah, before we get started, let's do some housekeeping. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, cool. So meet the team. So my name is Nicholas Chang. I'm a MVP in Azure, and I'm a senior platform engineer in Canis.
Yep, and Kevin Green, Azure MVP, and also the Azure practice lead at Ergo in Dublin.
So all members of this group should abide by this code of conduct, be friendly and welcoming to everyone, be patient, be thoughtful, be respectful and inclusive to each other, and be open and curious. Always try to ask questions to understand something and not to criticize. Would you like to do this one?
Yeah, no problem. So first speaker we have for tonight is Harshavardhan Bajoria, founder of at DevWorld, GitHub campus expert, multi-Microsoft certified, and a really smart guy to know and to listen to around AI in the Microsoft space. Harshavardhan's session is going to be titled Beyond Boundaries, Azure AI for Next Gen Applications. And then after his session, we have Daniel Paulus from the Netherlands, who's head of Azure Solutions at The Factory, and he's also a Microsoft Azure MVP. Daniel's going to be talking to us again about Azure AI, but his session title is called Whispering to OpenAI. So plenty of AI knowledge tonight. I was saying to the guys backstage, I'm really looking forward to seeing their sessions and hopefully learning some more cool stuff out of it as well. So let's get
so
the next as well.
Yeah, so the next episode, for the first episode for the new year, it will be the 13th of next month. It will be followed by two amazing speakers, Daniel Ribinsi. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. He's a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador in Data and AI. And he's doing a session on AI in Microsoft Azure. What are the options? And Amy Kohler is coming on as well. And she's a Microsoft Senior Club advocate, and she's doing a session on GitHub Copilot for Azure, which is recently launched a few months ago. He's talking about that.
Cool.
It should be a brilliant session. Let's bring on the speakers. So the first session would be Harshavardhan. Hello.
Hey, Harshavardhan.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi.
Perfect. We can hear you fine.
Would you like to share your screen?
Yeah.
Thanks. Got it.
Yep.
Would you like your question at the end or throughout the conversation, your session or something?
Yeah, I can begin with my session.
Do you want us to do Q&A throughout the session, Harshavardhan, or do you want to leave the questions till at the end, if there's any coming in from the attendees?
I think we can have the Q&A in the end. That would be great.
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
No worries.
Okie dokes. Over to you, so.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone. Today's session is all about how you can go beyond boundaries using Azure AI for next-gen applications. Now, that's completely fine when you feel the word AI to be a huge term and you feel that, okay, what should I build upon it? So in today's session, we'll be actually exploring how you can use Azure AI to build applications with less coding, with APIs that are available to you that you can directly use. So without further ado, let's begin. Who am I? So I'm an associate product manager at Unstock, Gold MLSA, GitHub Campus Expert, 7 times Microsoft Certified, and Google Cloud Digital Leader Certified, and founder of DevWorld. In case you wish to connect with me, you can just scan this QR code and connect with me over LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm mostly available on LinkedIn, so you can just reach out to me over there. So let's begin with the session for today and see how we can actually use Azure AI for building something that's cool, that's amazing, and maybe something really awesome that can help the world. So what do you need? In case you are a student, maybe Azure for Students account, or if you aren't, an Azure subscription, Python 3.6, VS Code, or GitHub Codespace. Now, yep, I use the term VS Code because VS Code or GitHub Codespace because GitHub Codespace is a service that's available by GitHub in case you are a GitHub Pro member. Then you can get GitHub Codespace where you can actually build something without installing VS Code or Python 3.6 or any of this. It's like VS Code in the web itself. And today we are going to explore that too. Now, how does all of this go? Sadly, in case you don't know, just a meme. You can just scan this QR code and get your GitHub Student Developer Pack in case you don't have it right now. And you are a student. You have tons of benefits out there, including Azure subscription of around $200, I believe. And also tons of other benefits like GitHub Copilot, GitHub Codespace, and many more that's out there. So yeah, that's the first resource. Maybe you can take a screenshot in case you aren't able to scan it right now, or maybe just scan it right away and get enrolled. Cool. Now, also make sure that you take notes, you take screenshots, you also try to understand what are we going to cover today, and maybe in the end, come up with questions, come up with doubts that you might have of how you can build an application, or maybe just an idea that comes up in your mind during the session and just ask me, how can we build it? And maybe you can figure it out. So the learning objective is actually learning how to set up a Flask development environment, how to build a form, and then use the translator service to actually translate text from one language to another. Now, this translator service won't be built by us today. It's already present by Azure itself. It's Azure Text Translator that we'll be using today. So yeah, you'll be understanding how you can use AI without actually coding. So first of all, creating a web application with AI doesn't need to involve a lot of code or creating services from scratch. Because see, what happens is in today's world, you get a lot of things. You get OpenAI APIs, which we'll be exploring right away after the session. You'll be getting Gemini APIs. You'll be getting a lot of other APIs that's available out in the market, which you can directly use to actually integrate and get ready with your application. What Microsoft Azure does is give you the access to all those OpenAI keys plus a lot of other AI services that you can directly use itself. But how? Yeah, we'll be exploring the whole Foundry Hub, or let's be specific, the whole studio itself, where you can actually go ahead and explore. But before that, how to integrate. So let's first set up a development environment. So first of all, I want all of you to maybe just scan this QR code, which is out here, so that you can go to a GitHub repo where you have all the resources available for today's session. So maybe just scan it. I am just waiting for maybe a few seconds, maybe just 10 seconds maybe, and you can just scan this and go to the repo. Also, if you maybe like the repo, you can just go ahead and start it, or maybe just let me know in case you have something in your mind that can be improved in the repository. That would be great addition to it for others also. So yeah, once you scan this QR code, you will be redirected to this particular page, which is the repository that we are going to explore today. Now, what it all offers to you. So first of all, it offers you a README where you can actually understand about the learning module, get pre-learning resources, which is redirecting you to Microsoft Learn itself, what are the prerequisites, and what the students are going to learn. So you will be exploring the uh, page that we are going to create, the HTML website, the flow of today's project, and what are the next step, what you can actually do after today's session. You can check out more resources over here by clicking on it. So yes, all of this can be done together in today's session. Now, how to go about it? So first of all, just click on this code option and you'll be getting an option of Codespace. Just click on it and click on create Codespace on me. When you click on this particular option, you get a Codespace created for you. It's like a virtual machine which has a interface of VS Code, and it's there in your browser itself. So you can code anywhere, anytime that you want. If you want to code in maybe let's say tablet or your PC, laptop, or maybe a mobile, if it has a big screen, you can do it anywhere that you want. It's just that it needs a web browser and an active internet connection. That's it. Cool. Now it has Python installed already in it. So you don't have to install Python. You get rid of it. So the next step after setting up the development environment is, let's go back to the slide. Is installing Python in case you are on VS Code or you are doing it locally. Create the project directory, create a Python virtual environment, and install Flask and other libraries. Now, you don't have to do the first 4 steps for now because you are doing it in GitHub Codespace. You are doing it in a very cool place where it's actually a virtual environment already made for you, and you don't have to worry about getting libraries installed in your PC for everything. So the libraries. Now the libraries that you need to install is already there in this application folder under requirements.txt. So you have to install Flask, python.env, and request. Now, why these 3 libraries? Let me explain. First of all, you will be needing Flask so that you can actually build the whole development environment, which is like the front end for it, and host it so that people can actually use it, interact with it. Python.env to actually get all the secrets that you store, the API key, the location, and everything out there. And request is to just make request to the web server, which is like the API to call them. That's it. Now, how you will be installing it is very simple. Just type cd application, go to the application folder, then just type in pip3 install -r requirements dot txt. So -r runs recursively the requirements.txt file and install each and everything that's been there. Now you have the development environment ready. Now you can start with the development. But what is Flask? What is this? What is this all about? So let's understand Flask so that we can actually build an application in the future. A very basic application, that's true, but an application at least. Flask is an open source web micro framework. So yep, Flask is open source and it's a micro framework, which means it allows you to build upon some smaller items. It has components already built upon which you can build a complete website, upon which you can build a complete thing out there and a complete website. Now, how are we going to actually interact with the whole application? So it has URLs. So just suppose you can see out here on the screen, you have https://adventureworks.com, which is for the main page. https://adventureworks.com/product/widget, which is for the details on a widget, and so on and so forth. So similarly, when you have a particular URL, which is uniform resource locator, you get a particular data from the database. So it hits the database, it gets the information that's out there, and you get it returned. Let's not go into get in post. I'm pretty sure you all know about what is get in post. But how does it work? So what are we going to do is actually have user request send via get to the server. Server would send me an HTML form which would be shown to the user, which would look something of this sort. When the user types the text, chooses the language, and clicks on translate, it will automatically go to the submit button via the post. And when the server receives it, it will process the whole information through the API that is being called and sends back the process information as the HTML result, which I'll be showing you to you how it goes. And this is how the whole flow would work. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing big out there that's happening. And this is how the code looks. Let me just take you to the code. So let's go to the code itself. And over here you have the app.py. So let me just zoom the screen maybe for you. So let me just explain the code so that in future, in case you want to build your own application, you can do so however you want. So first of all, you're importing the libraries that you have. You have the Flask app name. So you're defining that, okay, this is the entry level thing. Then you have the routes defined. So you have that, okay, if this is the particular thing, then you have to render a template index.html, which is there under templates and then index.html, which is a normal HTML code that would render this particular page for us. Then in app.py, you have the second, which is the after sending the post request, which is sending the form, clicking on the submit button. It has variables like original text and a target language, which it gets from the form itself. It gets the text, which is there, the target language in which needs to be converted, the key, endpoint, and location, which it gets from the .env file that you can find it out here, which has the key, endpoint, and location of the translator service that we are going to use. Then the path, like what needs to be done, the endpoint, the complete URL that's created, the headers and the body, which you will find out there also. And then it just returns the results.html and the translated text, which it gets by calling this particular thing. So it makes a call, it sends the post request with the constructed URL, the headers, and the JSON, which is required. It gets the response back as a JSON, and then it passes it to retrieve the translation text, which is then sent back to be shown to the user in this particular format, which is in results.html. Cool. So anything that you want to build as a front end, you store it in templates and then you call it via app.py or maybe some other name that you give it to. So yeah, this is how it works and this is how it should actually work. Now, Flask is like Python. Yeah, and that makes it easier for anyone who actually wants to build upon AI application, very simple and easy to use. You can use other things like Django or maybe Streamlit in case you are not comfortable with Flask. But yeah, it's up to you. It's no hardbound rule. I'm just showing it to you in one way. So now what is this translator service that I'm talking about? How do we actually use it? So let's go and check it out in Azure portal. So first of all, what is Azure portal? So if you just go to portal.azure.com, you will find this particular place where you have a lot of services. So if you just go to create a resource, you'll find that it has categories, which covers almost everything that you can imagine of. AI analytics, blockchain, compute, container, database, DevOps, developer tools, identity, integration, IoT, and a lot more, which goes up till web and storage itself. So yeah, it has a lot to do. Now let's suppose I choose AI machine learning. You can see it has still a lot more services and you have to choose upon it. So you have Azure AI services, speech, language, computer vision, translator, Q&A, language understanding, which is the Lewis model, document intelligence, which is to recognize forms, the text upon a document, and a lot more. Now, what are we going to build? We are going to build a text translator. So you can go to MS Learn to actually learn about it or get talks or documentation about it. For now, let's create. So when you click on this create option, you have to fill some of these fields. So first of all, come to the resource group. Resource group is, so you have different resources, which is like text translator service or computer vision service or maybe storage or other things that you need to combine so that you can have correct billing, you can understand the different alerts, you can have networking and a lot more. So you do it by creating a resource group. Now let's create a new one. So I'm just creating a new one. Let's suppose Microsoft Azure. Okay, it's reserved word. Let's make it session. So I just named it session. You have to choose a region which is nearest to your nearest to the person or the customers who are going to use it. So let's just choose the nearest one. For me, it's Central India. Then just give it a name. So I'm just giving it text translator. Choose the pricing tier so you can choose between any one of these. So I'm just choosing the free one for now. Okay, the name needs to be unique each and every time. So the text translator is already taken. Um, let's maybe try this one. Okay, this is ready. Text translator session is available. So let's go for it. When you click on next, you can just choose the networking in case you want only selected networks to be using this particular service. Or if you want no networks can access this resource, you can configure, sorry, a private endpoint. You can configure a private resource for this particular accessing this particular resource. Next, you have the identity, which is in case you want a particular IAM policies to be implemented, you can do it out here. You can create tags so that it becomes easily for billing purposes and applying the same for multiple resources, multiple groups. And finally, just check all of the things that you have configured, confirm that, okay, everything is correct, and then click on create. When you click on create, it will submit it for deployment, which you can see it out here, and will create a deployment of the service. So just let it happen. Wait for a few minutes. Yep, so it's deployed. When you click on go to resource, you can go ahead and check the resource out here. Now the coolest thing, when you click on go to resource in text translator, you can here itself find that, okay, you can try it out. So let's suppose I want to convert from, let's say, hello, how are you? So let's just make it, okay, just give me a minute. Okay, let me just change the pricing tier for now. It's not working for me. So I'm just making it S1 standard to pay as you go. I hope it works now. Cool. So, hello, how are you? So yes, there's a limit of how many free services you can create. Maybe I have created already a service. a free service, so I'm not able to use the paid. I'm not able to use the free one, and I have to go for the paid one. That's cool. So yes, it has an auto detect option, so it auto detects that okay, it's in English. You can choose it from here also if you want. You can change it to any language that you want. So you can just make it any language like Uzbek and any other language that comes in your mind, and it converts it, and you can just see how the request needs to be sent, what is the response that needs to be that you get in return from the API, and then how you actually need to pass it, which we are doing it by going into an array and then passing it by getting the zeroth index. You can have monitoring of how many requests were made, the request latency, the characters earned, trained, and errors that happened. You can also have to look at the sample code, which is like the C hash, Go, Java, Node.js, and Python. Now, all of this looks great. Cool, right? You don't have to think a lot before integrating it. You have the code, you have the text, you have everything out here ready. Now, what is the thing that you still need? Now you still need is the keys and the endpoints. So let's go to the keys and endpoints option. And what you need to do is actually copy this key, which you might have caught in case you're following with me. And in this particular GitHub code space, go to the .env file and just add in your key. Next up, just add in the location out here and just check that the text translation service has the same URL as out here, which is https://api.cognitivemicrosofttranslator.com, and yeah, it matches. Cool. So now go back to the app.py and now you can just run it. So it's ready. Yeah, you don't have to do anything else. The text translator service is ready to be used and you can just get started with it. You can have other things. So if you want to diagnose the problems, you want to set alerts, metrics, get the logs of particular transactions that took place, get the cost analytics, get the networking set or the encryption. You can do it all out here itself. You can choose to get the text translation containers and everything that's also available. So yep, let's run the application. So over here you can click and go to the terminal, similar to what you do in VS Code. First of all, let's set the like development environment to development environment. So Flask env is equal to development. So when you do this, the Flask environment is set to development, and then you just need to do Flask run to actually run the application. Okay, sorry. So first of all, cd application, and now you can do Flask run. Cool. So let's click on open in browser. It's forwarding the port so that we can run the application. And here you have the application ready. You can choose between languages which I have predefined. So let's maybe choose German. Let's just type it was great knowing you. Oh, cool. And let's click on translate. And here you have got the translated text, which is in German, which says Es Wortul, Ich alle zu kennen, danke für die Anleitung. And you can try another one by clicking over here. So yeah, this is a very simple application which you have built today with me. In case you want to build other things out there, let me just take you a moment to Azure AI Studio, which is ai.azure.com. And over here, you will be getting tons of things like prompt flow, which you can use to build a flow out there using prompts. In case you want to try AI services, you have speech, you have language, vision, document, and content and safety, which contains a lot of things like pronunciation assessment, live live streaming, which is audio to audio, chat GPT-4 or real-time API available to you. If you want to have multimodal AI to get insights, get OCR, get images, build your own custom model, text to speech, speech translation, detect harmful or offensive messages. You can do it all out here. You can have model catalogs in case you want to use a particular model that's out there. You can have it available to you. In case you want to just have some play arounds, you can just go to playground and check out the different things that's available. Similarly, you can have evaluation, safety, and security, and many more that's out there. You can create your own fine-tuned model also. So yeah, this is your AI studio for you, and this you will be getting at ai.azure.com. Yeah, cool. So this is how you can build your own applications, and this is how you can actually do a lot of things. Getting translation service, which is part of the cognitive service, and it has tons of service available right now in cognitive service. Please remember to always store your keys in your source code in a very secured manner using a .env file. And let's first Azure and then conquer the world. A very simple meme. And hope you all got this particular GitHub code. So, yep, if you haven't, just scan this QR code so that you can build your own. Maybe get some inspiration, get some idea of how it works. And yes, let's more. You can just deploy a website to Azure, connect your IoT devices to cognitive service to maybe build something really cool out there, or maybe create your own machine learning models. How? Maybe some other session we can explore how you can actually create a machine learning model by going to this particular place, which is ml.azure.com. Again, a place where you get a ton of thing to build your own machine learning model that's out there, deploy them, use them as an endpoint, and many more that you can just think of. You have features to components, environments, and a lot more out there. Cool. So in today's session, you came, you saw, and you coded with us. Hope you like the session. You can just give me your feedback and shoot out your questions in case you had any. Would love to answer all of them and maybe get back to you.
Well done, Harshavardhan. That was really good. Don't see any questions coming in, so I'm assuming you've just explained it so well that nobody needs to learn. But some nice hints and tips there, and I like the QR code to kind of help people get a bit more started as well. So just in the chat now, just a few folks saying hello. Hey Eswar, hey Abo, hey Bogdan, thank you. Yeah, you must have explained it so well.
Thank you.
I never used that language translation before. It's quite handy. Nice. So what other use cases can you use to create for those language translation?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
What other use cases can you use to do that feature, the language translation they just demonstrated?
Yep. So there are a lot of places where actually we can use text translation. Like in my own organization and stuff, we are using it a lot of places. Like suppose you want to build a multilingual website, you want instant application where people can interact with each other without having a barrier. You can just build it. So I have also built some projects where it's about a healthcare project and educational websites. I don't feel like education should have a barrier. So we can have it out there. We can integrate it so that everyone can just come up and talk to each other. In maybe discussion forums, you can integrate it so that your discussion forum becomes a forum where everyone can come, share their ideas, share the stuff out there, and don't feel left out. Maybe because Azure supports tons of languages, maybe almost all of the that's present out there. So yeah, you can just use it to help everyone connect, build, and innovate for the future.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I love that. I don't believe education should have a barrier. You're dead right. If you can use technology to embrace and to empower more people, I think that's Microsoft's whole message, right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of what they want to do anyway. And I think a lot of this AI stuff, when people move away from just the kind of chat GPT kind of features that, the whole buzzword of AI is around, you start looking at some of these real world scenarios where you're using the voice, where you're using the vision, you're using all of these different add-ons. It really makes a difference. So yeah, some really interesting stuff. So Harshvardhan, I'm conscious of the time zone for you over in India. So there's no more questions that have come in. So from us, thank you very much. You're more than welcome, obviously, to hang around. But if you need to get off because it's really late, obviously that's totally cool as well. And if there are any extra questions that come in after the session, we'll link you up with the attendees, if that's okay.
Sure, thank you. I would be staying here because I would love to see the Daniel session and learn more about it.
Nice.
There you go. Excellent. Okay, so Daniel, over to you for our second session of the night on whispering to OpenAI.
All right. Thank you so much for the intro. I'm making sure that I stand so that I'm more energized when I
Okay,
talk with all of
I'm
you. So.
thinking this must be a really serious session if you're actually going to stand up here. Right?
No, I
Either that
like
or you're
to.
going to fight someone. But I'm assuming you're not going to fight someone.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I always like to stand when I do presentations to make it more energetic, and hopefully that the people at home don't fall asleep and still listen to what I have to show them. So
Awesome, excellent.
All right.
Well, over to you. And sorry, same question to you that we asked Harshvardhan earlier. Do you want us to hold the questions till the end if they come in, or just flash them up on screen? Whatever works for you and your flow is fine for us.
Let's keep them to the end.
To the end. Yeah, you can get
Unless
through.
there's something that I need to fix or anything, then just pop up and let me know.
Cool.
And otherwise, let's keep them to the end, and then I can zoom in to specific questions.
Cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay,
Yep.
over to you, buddy.
All right. All right. So welcome to this presentation. It's called Whispering to OpenAI, and of course, that's a funny joke. We're gonna have a session about what I use as a workflow to help me throughout the day with OpenAI and the Whisper model that I use. So who am I to tell you all of this? My name is Daniel Paulus, and I'm the head of Azure Solutions at The Factory. It's a really cool company that do things with Azure and landing zones and resources and everything that you can dream of. I'm also an Azure MVP, and as you can see on this picture, I love to ride on my motorcycle. It's a bit cold out here right now, but when I can, I definitely drive. And in the small picture, you see me with a demolition hammer. 6 months ago, I bought a new house, and I'm doing the renovation mostly by myself. I love to do construction things outside of work. I'm actually quite handy. So if you want to know more, ask me the questions on LinkedIn, and I will definitely give you tips and tricks on how to do your renovation. But let's talk about a quest. So a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I got burnout, just as a lot of people in technology have issues with. It happened to me, I think, almost 10 years ago. And one of the tips that I got at the time was go outside and take walks. Take walks and unwind yourself. So in the beginning, when I did this, I made sure that I had some music in my ears, that I was just listening to other things and not really being in nature. So one of the other tips that I got was make sure that you are actively in nature, that you are involving yourself in the scenery. But when I started to do that, then it happened, right? I got inspiration. I got the answer to stuff that I need to fix. I got ideas and anything. But I also didn't had a notebook with me to write it all down, and I also didn't want to pack all of that stuff with me. So what could I do at that time? And then I found out that my mobile phone has the option to record voice memos, right? And that's super easy way to to get your ID and record it, and to have it for later when you are back at your computer or when you have pen and paper with you. But the big challenge that we have when working with voice memos is it's a lot of memos, and I have to find a needle in the haystack when I want to search for specific things. And nowadays, we have the opportunity to fix that. So let's get back to the challenge, right? The challenge is that if you have a moment of inspiration, a voice memo is super easy because of the directness. You can right away make a capture of the information that you want to keep for later. You don't have to write it down. You just speak to yourself or to your phone in this case. And just by the way that you talk gives it a whole lot of context. The pace and the pauses and the way that you think, it's all context to our mind. As I said, it's super easy. I started out to doing this in the forest, but over time, I also do voice memos when I'm in the car, when I drive home from work. I make a voice memo to go through my day, to get some highlights of that day, and to unwind, but also to capture all the important things that I think of when I'm driving home. I am also dyslexic, which basically means that if I write, I kind of make a lot of typos. Voice is therefore ideal because I simply have to talk. It's super easy for me, and it's also a brainstorm session when I'm walking, when I'm driving, when I'm in a train. But it's also sometimes weird, especially when I'm in a train or doing some shopping, when I'm talking. Some people think that I might be talking to myself. But there's also a downside, right? It's super easy and super quick capture to make voice memos. But that also means that you get a lot of audio files. And they don't really have metadata. You you can have some, in the sense that you can give them a title and stuff like that. And of course, there's a date and time, but that's it. So what can we do to improve that, right? Which leads to underutilized information. Because if I can't access the voice memo that I need at that time, I might miss that important information that I made a recording of the day before, which and then leads to missed opportunities, because I might have this awesome idea that it's somewhere in all of those files that I didn't find at the right time, and now it's too late. Facebook has already been built. And one of the ways that I see this is that you have this super big library with all of the books and everything, and you're looking for one particular pace of of information within a specific book, but you don't know which book and you don't know where it is and you don't know the page number, which gets really hard to find. But then I discovered the Whisper model from OpenAI, and that made a whole lot of information discoverable. If you don't know what Whisper is, I'm assuming you know what OpenAI is, especially if you just heard the talk. And well, you can't miss it, right? It's everywhere these days. But Whisper might be new to you. So it's an ASR, which stands for Automatic Speech Recognition System. It's designed to convert spoken language into written text, and it can do that for multiple languages, which I think is cool. It's open source-ish available, and it's super good in noisy environments, picking out your voice. So when you're in a train or commuting or in a windy environment on a bike, it will figure out what your voice is and then translate your voice. It's way cheaper than hiring someone to do the translation for you. And it can also do complex things. But let's keep it simple, right? If I speak to myself, I speak in Dutch, as I am Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands. And it can understand Dutch and it can translate it to English, but it can also do the transcription in Dutch. I use it right now to get it transcribed to English, so I can use an English prompt, but then it gets retranslated to Dutch, which I have to fix sometimes. But this is just the flow as it is right now. So how am I then gonna use Whisper? Because it's a model and it's just a model. There's no interface easily that I can use. But they have an API, and the API is the solution to everything if you are a coder. I'm gonna show you how I use it as a non-coder, because I do a lot of infrastructure and I have a background in cloud native technology. So I do know some programming, but I'm not a programming expert. I'm definitely not a developer. So I had to glue all of this together, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So what are we going to do? We're going to look if there's a new audio file, because I can export a file from my voice memo application into my OneDrive. And as soon as there is a new file available, we can make an API call to Whisper, which then generates a transcription and then stores it in a notebook system. I use Notion for this. So if we then have the transcriptions, that's one thing. But how do we go from transcription to actions? Because I want to know more. I want to know what the main points are, what the summary is, of course, because when I have a lengthy voice memo, the transcription will also be more than one page of A4. So make a summary for me. Get me the main points. If you read all of this, what are some follow-up questions that you can ask me? Are there any related topics, potential action items, arguments, etc., etc., etc.? This has grown over time. Some come, some go. I adjust this as I see fit, and in the end, it will work for you. So we can do that by utilizing Azure OpenAI, and especially the GPT model, by making a call to that model and asking it if you read this transcription, then do all of these actions for me. We do that by making a specific prompt. And this is a snippet of that prompt. The prompt itself is way bigger, but you get some of the highlights from this prompt. So you are an assistant that summarizes voice notes. So you give it the context that you're supplying it a voice memo, a voice note, and I specifically added that it also could be a other recording, because it could also be a meeting that with permission I record, or it can be the transcription of a YouTube video, or any information that I want to have processed, I can give it. The main thing is that it includes human speech. And one of the fun things is if you tell it that it's human speech, you also have to make sure that you identify the person that speaks. Because if you don't, you get text like the speaker tells this and this or that and that. And that's weird if you read it as human. So it would be really cool if you see Daniel is saying this and that. And the way that I make that work is that for me, my voice memo is simply a friend. So I have named my phone Wally, like the small robot from I think it's a Pixar movie. And in that way, I can have a conversation with Wally. And I also tell Wally, hey, Wally, it's Daniel again. And by starting out with that sentence, I let the system know that I am Daniel and that it can call me that. If you are the only one that's going to use the system, you can also hard code your name in this prompt. And then I ask it to analyze the transcript, but I want to make sure that the summary that it makes isn't just as long as the transcription that I give it. So I'm making sure that I tell the system to only make it 15%. And that way I make sure that the transcription is small, while the transcription is back, but the summary is still small. I ask it to create main points, but I also make sure to limit it in words and in items, because otherwise you can get really lengthy main points. Same for action items. And if there's an action item in which I call a day, like I have to do this by tomorrow, I want to make sure that it uses the ISO date for tomorrow. And it can figure that out because it knows today and it knows tomorrow. So, and then if I have a discussion with myself and there are any things that I should follow up or any questions that I could ask about that subject, it will give them to me. And that's really helpful, especially when I'm discovering new topics or looking into new topics or things that I have to research. Then it's really helpful that there are some questions that it's asking me and that I can use to look into and learn more about the subject. Same for stories and examples and for references. All of this helps me to get better notes of my voice memo. So if we then enrich the transcription, what do? We still pull for the new audio file. There's a new audio file. So let's make an API call to Whisper. That generates a transcription, which we then send to GPT. And in the end, it gets sent to Notion. So now I'm going to show you how I built this. And therefore, I'm going to stop my screen recording and send out a different screen. Can you display my screen? Awesome. So what you see here is the Azure portal. And I'm going to zoom in a bit. Okay. It's not important. So I have deployed these resources with Terraform. I will show you that in a bit. But the magic is basically in two things, right? We have a Azure OpenAI deployment for Whisper, which is in West Europe, and we have one for GPT-4, which is in France Central. At the time, I needed to go to France Central for GPT-4, and I needed to be in West Europe for Whisper because they were not available in the same region. I then have a key vault where I store the keys that I get from these OpenAI instances. And this is the magic. I have a logic app. I'm going to show you that logic app right now. So it's basically built in a similar sense as that I just showed you in the picture, is that when a file is created, you get the Whisper key, get the Whisper endpoint, and then make a call to Whisper. When it gets JSON back, parse the JSON, get the GPT key, get the endpoint, and call GPT, get parse what you get back. Then I loop through all of the things, and here the magic starts, where we say, okay, create a Notion page for me, add a table of content there, add a summary, main points, loop through all the main points. And you can do this with a logic app, as I did, but there's also other tools available like make.com, I think it's called make.com, and N8N, where you have a similar style of low code platforms. Of course, you can do the same in a Azure function, but for me, Azure functions are still a bit scary. So I've chosen to do this route first, and it works so good for me that why would I look into something else? So I've made a recording just before this meetup that I'm now gonna export into my OneDrive, and we go parse load. So it now check the trigger, and if I'm right, you see that it's running. So you can see that it completed some steps. So if we now refresh, it completed some more steps. So let's just open up some. So this is in Dutch. If you can read Dutch, that's fine. If you can't, I said that I have a meetup this evening where we're going to talk about OpenAI Whisper, and that I'm also going to do a demo of this. So it comes back with that output, which is in JSON. And then we call GPT. This is the endpoint. This is what we sent to it. So that's this is the system message. As you can see, it's quite a large a prompt that I give it, and it's also including a example of the JSON that I want to get back. And it comes back with something called choices, and you have to. So you get. Sometimes you get multiple choices back, which the model thinks are good responses to you. So you might need to loop through the responses in order to to see what you want to get back. And one of the things that you see here is it comes back with a title, which is also in Dutch, and the title is "Speak over recording voice memos with OpenAI Whisper," and then it gives the summary. It gives the main points, which is said, "I shall speak about OpenAI." And it says that I do a demo. There's an action item, so it says prepare the demonstration of voice memos, and attend the meetup, which are 2 action items that I have to do in order to get this done, right? There's a follow-up question, and it wants me to ask how it works with Whisper, and it hopes that we have a discussion about the importance of voice memos. But there's also nothing found for arguments. Okay, so this gives you an idea on how this works, right? Well, then if we add a summary, I take the content of the JSON file and parse it into this. You might ask yourself, how much does this cost? It's super cheap, unless you're gonna do voice memos for multiple hours. But I run this 1 or 2 times a day for a voice memo. Sometimes more, sometimes less. I've never spent more than $30 on the entirety of this, with lengthy voice memos and sometimes even with longer running meetings. The downside, though, is that there's a limit of 10 minutes per block that you can send to Whisper. So if this is a longer audio file, you'll have to cut it up into smaller pieces, send it to Whisper, wait for it to return, and then reconstruct the transcription. There's tools out there to do that right now, but that's something to keep in mind. This was for me when I first started to doing this. That was a bit of a headache. Now I'm going to show you how that looks like in Notion. Give me a sec to find the right database. Yeah, please. And yeah, awesome, guys. So this is the database where it just parsed the voice memo. So if I open up this page, give me full page. You see that there's a summary, main points, the action items, and so as I said in Dutch, I also included the full transcript. So if I am here you see again the speaker, and that's because I didn't tell it that I was Daniel, so it didn't know. But if there's something weird in the summary, which can happen because sometimes I speak slang or technical content or whatever, then it might not know what I mean. Then I can also look into the transcript and see if I can see it there. But if you I said that we're gonna do a demo, and it made a really weird word of that. So it's not awesome, but it's really good enough for your voice memos. Then it shows the action items, it showed the questions. There is no example found. There's also no references and citations. And there is, however, an argument, and that's the possible issues that there are for using OpenAI Whisper for the recording of voice memos. And that is where we're going to talk about right now. So in the next slide, going to reshare my presentation window. So the next thing where we have to talk about is the broader implications of this, right? Because yes, I'm using OpenAI to send my private memos there. And that's why I'm using Azure OpenAI instead of OpenAI General. Because I believe that the Azure OpenAI version keeps my data more private than that I use OpenAI. Again, I am not 100% sure how private this is. They promise me it's private, so is why I'm using it. But they could use data to train on it, right? So always, with every system that you use on the internet, research if it works for you, if it's safe enough for you to use. We can't send everything there. And there might definitely be things, where they tell you or me that it's NDA. One sec. If it's NDA, I will not send it to this flow, right? Same thing with storing it in Notion. Notion is also a web service that I use. So always do research, always check if it's safe enough for you to use, if you can use it, if there's no laws against it or whatever. And definitely make sure that you trust the system that you use. Another implication is that I'm using a system to send voice memos to, instead of letting a person type that out. We could up this by sending it the recording of this meetup and then get captions back that we can use for YouTube, for example, instead of letting a person do this. It might be easier if we let a system do this and make it easier for organizers to get the captions in and to make it available in a more inclusive way. But there's also the other way, that a person that has trained on doing captions his whole life might get less work because it's easier for other people to do this automated. Things to keep in mind and things to think about while I'm still saying I'm going to use my voice memo system. So let's talk about the impact of AI and this kind of systems, but also use them and see what we can make with it. And with that, I also want to do a call to innovation. You've now seen my system. You've seen how easy you can set this up, right? I say it's easy. It might not be for everyone, but there's a lot of guidelines on how you can use systems like N8N or the Azure systems that I used to make something like this for yourself. There's also now a built-in chat functionality to OpenAI, where you can press the microphone and can talk to OpenAI if you have it on your mobile phone. That's using OpenAI general systems, and that might, right, that I don't feel fine with it yet, but I have tried it out. And for asking it questions on the go and making like, hey, there's someone that comes over for dinner tonight, but they are lactose intolerant. Help me out. What should I look out for? What things can I make or not make to make sure that they are happy, and let go of the microphone, and it comes back with all kind of written text. Or it can speak it to me with the new functionality of OpenAI, which is also cool. So there is a lot of innovation that is going around. I would definitely recommend you look into this. Start playing with it. Build your own system like I did. Start fiddling with it and see what you can do with the prompt to make it useful for you, right? I am using OpenAI. I am also using Claude right now. I have used Copilot, but it's not where I want it to be yet. With the feedback that I get, so I hope that the Microsoft will definitely keep on improving on it, and hopefully we can really build awesome automated workflows that make our day way easier, and we can really look into the hard stuff that we have to do at work. With that, I'd like to end my presentation. If there are any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I can read along, and let me know. You're on mute, Nicholas.
Oh, sorry. I have a question. How did you break down this voice call, or did you trunk it?
I trunk it. So there's this library that you can use, a Node.js slicer, if you call it like that. And what it does, it makes 10 minutes WAV files of it, or MP3, and you can then loop through that. I found that it doesn't happen a lot that I have really big voice memos. So in 10 minutes, you can quite talk a lot with yourself and explain a certain topic. But I also have a workflow for longer files. But then I have to put it in a specific folder, because if you loop through larger files, then it gets more expensive.
Okay.
So, Daniel, sorry, Nick, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in. He's just like,
Yeah, I know.
So you cook over that one for a sec, right? So there's another question come in from Mohammed. So, Daniel, to you, can the transcription service from Whisper AI be integrated with other Azure services such as Azure Bot Service, Cog Search, Synapse Analytics to power complete end-to-end solutions?
I think it can. I haven't tried it specifically yet, but it's an API call, right? So as long as you can chain things together with code or with a service, it can it definitely can. I have played around with Azure Bot Service, and I know that you can use webhooks there, right? So as soon as if I type a question, it can do something. So if I send it a voice recognition thing, so there's also this Azure voice recognition service. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think they use in the backend something like Whisper. But I have found that the Whisper model itself is better than the Azure voice recognition software. So it might be a alpha version, something. I don't know, but if you use Teams and you use the automatic screen capture mode, where they do the transcription of what you're telling right away on your screen, I have seen that in the new versions of Teams that improved, right? So first, if you had that on, you get all kind of garbage out of it, weird words, things it couldn't understand, and now all of a sudden it's actually quite good. And I think that they changed the engine underneath it to Whisper. I also did a bit of research in, are there any other tools out there from other builders that use something in a similar way as Whisper? I haven't found it yet. So right now it looks like to me it's the only type of model that's using speech to text that is at this moment available. I expect there to be a lot more to come. And if someone knows it, please let me know, because I'm super interested in giving that a try as well.
Perfect. Thanks very much. Very comprehensive. No other questions. Janina, just thank you for the inspiration. I'll try some of the things I've seen today. Thanks for that. So all positive. Oh, here's another one. There we go. Nick has put it up there from Abu Elias Love. Abu. Sorry if I got your name wrong. Regarding the privacy part, there is no privacy actually in the internet. Yeah, we all know that, to be fair.
Yeah.
We trust some companies because they are known and famous. But as you mentioned, the data can be sold by the company easily. So I suppose not a question, but more a statement. I suppose.
Yeah. But this is exactly one of the points that I try to make in a little less hard way. Like, stay mindful of your data, right? And I trust Azure, and I know that they made Azure OpenAI as with the idea to have a closed environment for your AI data within your own tenant. And I think that's important to highlight in this specific subject, where you send it private data, or can contain private data. And someone might know that in 2 weeks I have to do another meetup, which is fine if that leaks, right? But if I tell them that I'm on some kind of medication and whatever, and that might be sensitive. So that's what I mean with be mindful. It can always happen.
Yeah, very fair point.
Have you tried doing this with Teams? Like, for example, Teams missed calls, whether it's someone missed like voicemail, or you tried with like a long video?
No, I haven't tried it yet. And I did try it with long videos. So what I had, we had a whole day conference, which we cut up in talks of about an hour, and I ran that to Whisper, got the output back, which I used for the captioning of the videos. One of the things that I saw there is that you have to loop, right? That's one of the pitfalls. Then you have to stitch it together, right? Because you get transcription. So you have to stitch that back together. But then the transcription also gets really big. So if you then send it to GPT, you also have to do or think about the tokens, because it's too much tokens. So you have to use a tokenizer, which is again a library that does some kind of compression. It gets complicated really fast. So stick with small stuff. That's easy. If you want to do large stuff, you'll have to do research, because that's definitely more complicated.
Okay.
Cool. So conscious of time as well on your side, Daniel, you're a little bit ahead of ourselves here in the UK and Ireland. So there's no other questions have come in. Thank you so much for a great session. That was really, really useful. Harshavardhan as well did a really good session earlier, and obviously anyone online or anyone who isn't available to see both sessions live, they can just watch it back on the chat. There should be on the video. There should be no problem seeing that. And we'd love to have you back again some other time for some more learnings. I think there's some good learnings from me and Nick even in this session.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you both.
I want to ask about the video, because
me.
lots of people have like long meetings and stuff. If you can just truncate it into smaller section, only get important part. So that's one reason I asked.
Yeah.
Oh, it's possible.
Let me look into that and come back to you somewhere next year.
Okay. No
Okay.
worries. Okay.
I think we'll wrap it up, Nick.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for joining, guys. So see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.